Good morning. Good morning, my many loves. Mwah. Happy Monday. It is April 4th. I don't think there's anything significant about this day, except that it's another Monday that we get to spend together. So I kind of like that. Hold on, I have a text message and I have to check my text messages because I have kids. So I hope you all had an awesome weekend. We here in my house had a nice weekend. We went prom dress shopping on Saturday. That was fun. We finally found a dress. Yay! I can't wait to share photos of my kids all dressed up for prom because this is probably the most dressed up they've ever been in their lives. So I'm really excited to share those photos with you. Oh yes, I chopped all my hair off. Thank you, Robin. Yeah, I chopped all my hair off. It's super, super short. It's gone. It's completely gone. It's nice. It's it's taken some getting used to. It's really short. It's shorter than I've been in years, many, many years. Like 10 years ago, I probably cut it this short, but it's not been this short in a minute. So let me introduce myself in the show first. I do have some things I want to talk about before we get into our topic of communication problems. First of all, I'm Mandee Conant. I do not have any letters behind my name, nor am I formally educated in anything relationship or anything that I talk about. I'm not formally educated in. My degree is in nothing of these things. But I do have over 20 years experience in ethical non-monogamy. And that's what I bring to you is my experience and the experience from the people I love. And what I have learned. So I am not a doctor. I am not a therapist. I am none of those things. I am just Mandee. The show, for those of you who haven't been around for a while, we talk all things ethical non-monogamy. We talk about some taboo subjects, some tough to talk about subjects, some dumb subjects, and some super important subjects. And today we are going to talk about communication problems. And you say, Mandee, how can there be a problem if you're communicating? But there can be. And we're going to talk about, or as Robin would say, about. We are going to talk about good forms of communication, not good forms of communication, what to talk about. And then is there such thing as bad communication, like too much or bad times? So, but before we get into that, I'm personally sad that it's April because it is no longer my birth month. I'm just older now. Maybe next year I'll celebrate all year. I do want to say that we lost an incredibly important member of our community last week. Stephen Russell is one of the producers and works behind the scenes of Professor Sex's brand and videos. He's also was Professor Sex's partner, and he passed away early last week. Angel, Professor Sex, is a very dear friend of our family. You all have seen Professor Sex here on the show. They have been on the podcast as well, the Probably Polly podcast. And losing Steve has been crushing for them, as you can imagine. Angel has 2 kids as well, who have lost their step parent. and he was a rock to their family. So a lot of community members have been raising funds for Professor Sex. Here are direct ways to donate to Professor Sex. There's also a GoFundMe, which I posted. I believe I posted in the group. If not, I will post it in the group. I encourage you all, if you can. I know that it is a place of privilege to be able to help people out in times of need like this. But I encourage you, if you can, to donate to Professor Sex, as they have donated a lot of their time and energy to our community, and to LGBTQIA folk, and yeah, their Professor Sex is an amazing human being who does amazing work for multiple communities. And all I'm asking is that our community come together for them now in their time of need. So if, like I said, if you have it to give, I encourage you to give. If not, I completely understand. There's there's no requisite. You're not required to do that to listen any further. And Professor Sex also would probably enjoy some shout outs about how important they are to the community and how sad their loss is to all of us. And Angel, if you're listening, I love you. You know this. Our family loves you. And I know I've told you a million times, but if there's anything you need, please reach out. All this information is up in the group as well. So if you, when I take it off the screen, if you miss it, please feel free to grab it out of the group. Hold on one second. I'm having technical difficulties. Okay. Let's see. What else? I'll do a little bit of housekeeping. We'll talk about our sponsors real quick. One Condoms. Awesome condom company. They have the only FDA approved condom for anal sex. They have an amazing thing called a fit kit that you can download. If you go to myonecondoms.com, you can download your fit kit for free, measure your junk, and find out which of the 60 different sizes they carry will fit your junk the best. So I encourage you to do that. And then once you have found your fit, go to onecondoms.com and order it. Use my promo code ManyLoves for 15% off of your order. So do that. Hey, Jenny, I'm glad you're here. All right. Let's talk about AdamandEve.com. AdamandEve.com is your one-stop shop for all bedroom enhancing items. They have vibrators, dildos, lube, sexy lingerie, apparati for your bedroom. And by that, I mean like sex swings and chairs and all kind of amazing things. Go check them out. AdamandEve.com. Find something you want and use my promo code, y'all. 50% off any one item and free shipping. And they throw in a bunch of goodies too when you use my promo code. So, and that's all free shit. 50% off almost any one item. There's a couple things that it doesn't apply to. And enhance your bedroom life. It's that easy. And last but not least, let's talk about Probably Polly, the podcast where we question everything, even our name. I co-host this with Michael Haig and Sarah Lucas. We just had an episode come out last weekend, I believe. That's not my job on the podcast. My job on the podcast is to come and interpret Michael for you all, because he's a little hard to understand sometimes because he's so fucking smart. I highly encourage you to go check out Probably Polly anywhere you listen to your podcast normally. That would be, we are on Spotify, we are on iTunes, and we are on SoundCloud. So check us out at one of those places. Tell me what you think. And I will tell you that that podcast is much smarter and also edited for maximum content. You don't deal with a lot of Mandee ums and uhs and so's and that kind of thing. Michael does a really great job editing it for maximum content. Episodes are usually 45 to an hour and a half, 45 minutes to an hour and a half. So you get a ton of information in that time. And Michael is such a wealth of knowledge. So go check that out. And I think that that's all the sponsors to talk about right now. I am going to encourage, as always, every Monday, your questions, comments, and critique. I love it when you, I don't know why I sang that. I'm sorry. I won't do it again. I love it when you all join in the conversation. It makes it so much, I think it just makes it so much more informational for other people, for you all to share your questions and comments about the topic that we're talking about. You all make this show so much better when you join in with me. So please give our listeners a break from my bullshit content and let me hear your stuff. I've not had enough coffee today, or maybe I've had too much coffee today. Let's see. Jenny says, I've loved the 2 recent episodes of Probably Polly. So happy the episodes are back. We are too. We haven't recorded any new episodes. This is still our backlog. So there's still like older ones that we've recorded from months ago, but we do have new recordings on the calendar to start. So we're really, really excited about being back. And I tell you what, COVID did a number on us, as it did, a lot of people. And of course, the 3 of us were not hit as hard as a lot of people were. And we're really just starting to feel the emotional toll and the mental toll now that it's over. And it's not over. Don't get me wrong. The pandemic is far from over, but now that it's calming down and slowing down, we're really just now seeing the effects of everything, right? So, so yeah, moral of that story is Probably Polly is back with new episodes. And so today we are going to talk about bad communication. We're going to talk about communication problems. And in that will be bad communication. So my question to everyone right now, because I have a bunch of questions for you, is there such thing as bad communication? We talk about communication so fucking much in ethical non-monogamy, right? Like, that's the buzzword. If anybody says anything about ethical non-monogamy, why is it so hard for me to say that word today? If anybody starts talking about E&M or poly, it's communication, right? You got to communicate with your partners, communicate with your metas. We talk about this all the time. And I had a thought over the last week. Is there such thing as too much communication? or bad communication. And I mean too much communication like between partners, too much communication between metas. And in case you're new here, a meta is a metamor. That would be your partner's partner that you maybe don't have a relationship with, but your partner does. Let me see. We have a comment here. Robin says, I see it all the time in my work. Message passing between partners and metamors. Don't do it. Yes. Robin and I actually talked about this last week. The message passing. I'm going to do a whole show on metamor communication, and message passing and how not to do it. And what we mean by message passing is, when you tell your partner something to tell to their partner, or when they say, well, this is how my other partner feels, and it's bad. It's bad news. Don't do it. Message passing is not good. And maybe we will talk about that next week to build on to this episode. So okay, we got a comment from Jenny. It says, I think many of us I think what many of us mean when we say bad communication, what we mean is either no communication or dishonest or manipulative. I do think you can have too much communication. Jenny, I'd love for you to expand on that. What do you see as too much communication? So, when I'm an over communicator, and I know that about myself, I keep hitting the table and shaking the video, y'all. I'm sorry. I know that about myself, that I'm an over communicator. I info dump sometimes when people maybe don't want the information. So that's one of the things that I actually talk about with my partners at the beginning is, how much do you want to know? What do you not want to know? Because some of my partners are parallel poly and they don't want to know about each other, and they don't want to know, not that they don't want to know about each other, but they don't want to know maybe the ins and outs of the other relationship, or they don't want it pushed on them. And that's completely okay, right? That is absolutely okay. We've talked about that before. Because you're not dating your metas. You don't have to date your metas, and you don't have to date the relationship between your partner and their other partner, right? So when I talk about too much communication, I think that what I'm asking is like in the bedroom. So let's say in the bedroom, even with monogamous relationships, can there be too much communication and critique about bedroom activities, or about relationship boundaries? Let me see. We've got Jenny says, I love it when Jenny's on, because Jenny and I like conversate. I love it. I love that you're here, Jenny. Too much communication is when you aren't giving space to think things through, so the chat can actually be more honed into the issue and not dancing around the edges. Oh, that's good. Also, oversharing or giving too much info. Over communication can make you feel like, let's see what it can make you feel like. Also, over communication can make you feel like that's all you're doing and suck the fun out of a relationship. And that's what I'm getting at. Is there a point where you're like analyzing every fucking thing, or where you're talking about everything? So it's not. And I've gotten this before. I've had people tell me this before that. Like, I know I was thinking about it this week, but I've had multiple conversations about this with other people, as far as like when we talk about consent and how we encourage conversations about consent in the bedroom. And Um, some people say, well, it doesn't make it as sexy if you talk about it, or if, it takes the spontaneity out of the event or the sexiness out of whatever you're doing if you talk about it too much, right? So I want to know if you all feel that way. I want to know, is there such thing as talking about something too much? Robin says too much communication can exist, but it likely needs a shift, i.e., talking in circles. Okay, so you're talking too much because you're not talking about the right things. Is that what you're telling me? Um, like, oh, I didn't mean to pin that. Guess what? You can pin a comment. I didn't know that until just now. So what Robin is saying, I think, is that it's too much like if you're dancing around a subject and you're just talking it and talking it to death, the reason is because you're not actually talking about what needs to be talked about. You're talking in circles. Correct me if I'm wrong, Robin. Um, Jenny says communication styles can differ also. Yes. And some people have different attachment styles and different ways of wanting to resolve conflict. But communication is not just conflict resolution. And I think people should talk more than just conflicts. I completely agree. I love that comment, Jenny. Um, Communication isn't just about conflict. Um, and I think if you're only communicating about conflict, that's bad. Um, it's gonna leave a nagging taste, right? It's gonna leave like, "Oh, fuck, we're gonna talk about this again." Or we're gonna like, the only time we ever talk is when there's a problem. Um, so I think that the communication should be so much more than conflict resolution. Um, Robin's comment is long, so I gotta go back to it after this. So it says, Robin says, same with BDSM and sex. Is this okay? Is that okay? Are you all right? How's this? It's over communicating, but I say don't shut it down. Shift to other forms of communication that may not be verbal, like body language, touch, eye contact, etc. And to the previous comment, yes, that's right. Okay, so I was reading that comment right. Um, I think though, to that comment, Robin, when you I think that you can really only rely on that body language and touch and eye contact when there's a level, you have to come to a level of trust with somebody or a level of experience with somebody to be able to read those cues. Um, and I think that especially in the beginning of a relationship, it has to be verbal. Um, Let me know what you think. Jenny says examples of different styles. Anxious attachment styles may want to talk right away, whereas avoidant attachment styles may need space to process first. Those styles together can lead to the classic push pull dynamic. 100%. I've absolutely been in relationships like that. Yeah. Yes, I agree completely, Jenny. Um, you've got to make sure that you're respecting. You have to make sure that you're respecting your partner's communication style while not ignoring yours. Um, and that's a really delicate balance, right? Like sometimes I don't know how to do that. Um, and I've been pushing this communication shit for 2 decades, right? Sometimes I don't know how to do that. Sometimes I struggle with that. Um, I do I do think I'm trying to say this right. I'm trying to say this correctly. My thoughts are a little scattered on this today. Um, I don't know. I'm an oversharer. I'm an over communicator. Um, and I always want other people to be over communicators too. And it's like I said, it's hard for me to remember that at times. Um, let's see. I don't know who this is. We have a Facebook user comment. It says, "Oh, you do need verbal consent for sure. Just saying way too much verbal in the moment can kill the mood. And there are so many forms of communication to learn and read that when you use them together can be." Did I do that right? um Yes, I worry that in the beginning, um, the other forms of communication, the level of intimacy is maybe not there yet, to bank on those forms of communication. That verbal is really super key at the beginning, and we can't expect to read other people's body language. Um, but I do agree that once in everything, I've definitely gotten to places with partners where there doesn't even have to be verbal communication. They can read my body language really, really well. I know their body language really well, or just a look in their eye, or the way they've said something. But I just really think at first that talking about things, um, just talking them out is super important. And maybe not in the middle of things. Try talking about it beforehand, right? We've got we have worksheets that you can fill out together, where they are hard limits, soft limits, green light, yellow lights, red lights, um where you can have these discussions about, hey, I'm open to this, hey, I'm not open to this, hey, I'd really like to try this, I'd really like to try this, but maybe not right now. That's something that I got to work up to. Hey, I don't have any experience with this, but I'd like to try this, or I'm not sure about this. There's worksheets out there to sit down with your partner, especially a new partner. I mean, I think that you would really basically only do that with a new partner, and kind of map out all those things. And those worksheets make great conversation tools. Um, Jenny says, I love the link community and poly community. I think you mean kink. I think Jenny means kink. I'm not 100% sure. The kink community and the poly community, because open, honest communication is at the root of having a good time in these spaces. I will suggest you can over communicate when you want to talk things through to the point where you are never willing to take any action, like in a scene or when opening a relationship. So I think what you're saying is that you can over talk about something, um, but there's no action behind it. It's like an apology with no change of behavior. Um, it's just words, and you're not really doing the things that you're saying. Um, Jenny's expanded on it. I think if you're talking through so much that you're never willing to take those steps, like in a scene or when opening, you're having the wrong communication, and should talk about what you're saying, what you're not saying, like your fears. That right there is, let's talk about what you're not saying. That's super important, because I think you're right, Jenny. I think that people dance around things all the time. So maybe we're not hurting each other's feelings. And what we're saying is not really what we're meaning. It's all that we're not saying is what's important, right? Um I want to also talk about um, what you talk to your partners about. I want to know what you all talk to your partners about. Um, I, of course, talk to my different partners about different things. Um, I have a couple partners that are just like my best friends, and um, sorry, um, I have a couple partners that are like my best friends, and I talk to them about everything, and I bounce ideas off of them, and um all kind of topics, and uh there we go. I was trying to open up, sorry y'all, that's distracting as shit, but I was trying to open up the chat so I could see um people who um were leaving comments, but I couldn't see who they were. I don't know that it's going to help, to be honest, but and I've lost my train of thought. Oh, what you all talk about. So is I'm curious if you talk about sex. And I'm not talking about sex with other partners. I'm talking about your own sex with your partner. Do you talk about sex? Do you talk about what you want and what you don't want? Do you talk about um relationship escalation or de-escalation, and what that looks like both ways, right? Like what escalation looks like and what de-escalation would look like, because let's be real, people, really really rarely do we have relationships that never de-escalate, right? It happens. So that needs to be talked about, and it needs to be talked about multiple times. What de-escalation looks like to you. What are check-in points in your relationship? With my nesting partner, we have a little saying where and we're legally married, which doesn't really mean anything to either of us except that it takes care of paperwork if something were to happen to one of us. That doesn't create a hierarchy for us, really. But we have a saying that we check our relationship at the end of every lease. We we check our relationship at the end of every lease. We check in and we go, hey, do we still want to do this? Do we still want to, like, and we're like actually signing a lease for our house, but it's kind of like we're re-signing the lease on our relationship as well. So we go, hey, do we still want to do this? Do we still want to do this for another 2 years? And our relationship is lease to lease. So I think that every relationship should have those discussions about renewing your lease, whether it's the lease in your relationship or your metaphorical lease of your relationship. Are we going to renew this? And set times, set lease expiration dates, if you will. That's great if you're doing that. But for sure, talk about sex too. Talk about sex with your partners. Jenny talks about sex with her partner. They talk about sex with their partners all the time. To be fair, we did escalate without conversations, and we haven't discussed de-escalation at all, but we're starting to have the conversations we never had. Oh, heart. My daughter taught me how to do this, because this, I guess, is very old. It's old people-ish. So this is the new heart. I love that, Jenny. I love that. I'm glad that you're starting to have conversations that you never had. The important ones, right? The important ones that we need to have. Sex conversations are some of those, though. Um, and I think, God, that the thing that keeps coming back to me is the what's not being said. That's so important to like to look at what is not being said. Um, because if you're talking something into the ground, it's because of something that's not being said. I completely agree with that. Let's see. Robin says, B and I talk about communication a lot. They talk about talking. Like after the kids are in bed. Wait, is that over communication when you communicate about communicating? So like some communication inception shit. Is that could that be considered over communicating? We talk about everything. We even talk about talking. It's like meetings about meetings. Um, like after the kids are in bed, we might have a small chat about something that was done or said that day that maybe didn't sit well or something. It's nice to have a quick, hey, have you noticed you're quicker? I hate that it doesn't show the whole comment if it's long. Um, hey, have you noticed that you're quicker to anger lately, etc.? Are you okay? Or hey, the way you responded to the X situation or to X situation was really well handled. Instead of leaving it to snowball and to come up in an argument. That's great advice. Super great advice. Um, and talk about the good things. Like I think that that's a communication problem we have. You all brought that up at the beginning of the show. Talk about the good shit too. Recognize when somebody is doing something, recognize when they're trying, recognize that they're giving more, recognize that they have changed something that you know maybe they were doing and they were hurting you and didn't realize they were hurting you. um Talk about the good shit. Give props where props are due. And then it won't feel like nagging all the time. It won't feel like, oh God, here we go. We got to talk about that again. Um, Something else that I want to bring up is forms of communication that cause problems. Um, and we all know important conversations should not be had over text message, right? Or should they? That's some people's way of communicating and the way they communicate the best. But like Jenny said earlier, you need to know what the communication style of your partner is in order to be able to respect that that's what they need, right? So that the old, conversations are bad over text message, like important conversations are bad over text message. Um may not actually be a thing. Um I think that we have come a long way um, with technology and emoticons, and they don't call them emoticons anymore. They call them emojis. Um, that just shows you how far we've come. Uh, I think that we have come really far with being able to have conversations over text message, um, or chat or what have you. Um, I think emails are a really good way to communicate, um, because it allows you to put all the things that you're feeling in like it was like writing a letter, right? Back in the good old days. It's like writing a letter. You can put everything out that you're feeling. You can make it an outline or however you want. Um, but the person has to read the entire thing before they go shooting back a response, like in chat or in text message. Um, you I sometimes think that writing a letter or sending an email is better than having a face-to-face conversation. At least it's a good start to a face-to-face conversation because you can't interrupt each other. Um, there's also a really good um, chat app called Marco Polo. That's a video chat app um, that you can't interrupt each other. So it's like a video message. They listen to the whole thing, then they respond it to you in a video message. So you're not interrupting each other. That's one of the things that I love about Marco Polo is not interrupting each other and listening to everything that the other person has to say. Let's see. Robin says, I've actually had some really good conversations over text. I've explicitly stated that I needed time to process and come up with a proper response instead of giving a knee jerk reaction that I regret. So if you are able to personally check yourself before just popping off a response, and you are able to go, okay, I need to think about the way I'm phrasing what I'm saying. I need to collect my thoughts. Then yes, text messages are a great way to communicate. Like I don't have a problem with that. And these may be unpopular opinions, right? I have another pretty fucking unpopular opinion as well. That whole don't go to bed angry bullshit is for the birds. It is for the fucking birds. You are not going to have a productive conversation while you're exhausted at 2:00 in the morning because you're trying to not go to bed angry. Go to bed, sleep on it. You're going to be much more productive in conversation the next day. When you've been able to sleep, when you've been able to think on it, you're awake, you're able to function. Don't come at me with a good like a deep conversation after 10:00. In fact, I have a rule with one of my partners about that. We don't talk about anything important after 10:00. So y'all come at me. Jenny says, I agree with Robin. Written discussions allow you time to say difficult things with time to edit to avoid hurting them and gives them a chance to process and feel what they need with some privacy. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons, like I said, that I love emails. Because it's there in writing. You don't go, wait, did I hear them right? Wait, can you repeat that? Because I want to make sure I heard you right. It's right there. It's in writing. You can process it in your own time. It's great. I have multiple partners that email is the absolute preferred way of having a difficult conversation. One of them is a writer, so his thoughts are much more put together when he's writing them. One of them just prefers to have it. He's a much better reader to be able to comprehend things and remember what was said. Robin doesn't allow for serious conversations before 10 a.m. But like, am I wrong, Robin? You don't want to start a conversation at 11 o'clock at night about something super important. First of all, again, you're tired. You've had a long day. I don't care what day it is. It's been a long day. At 11 o'clock, it's been a long fucking day. I don't care if you got up at noon. At 11 o'clock at night, it's been a long fucking day. So you're tired. You don't know how long this conversation's going to go on. So you're trying to get the conversation over with because you want to go to sleep. It just doesn't bode well for either party to have a conversation that late at night. Go to bed angry. Go to bed upset. Like, have time to marinate on what's going on. Okay. Jenny says, Mandy, what are your thoughts on manipulative language or loaded discussion, even abusive tactics in communication? Red flags, signs, I'm sure we have all seen them. Surely that counts as bad communication. Absolutely. I honestly thought that was a given. I hadn't even thought about talking about that, Jenny, because I mean, um, that's that's that we all know that's bad communication, right? Um, give me some examples of manipulative language, um, or loaded discussion. Um, when you come into a discussion with a attack, it's not ever going to be good. And that is aggressive. I would say aggressive tactics in communication. Um, I've 100% been called an aggressive communicator at times. I have to check myself and make sure that I'm not being aggressive in my communication. I've been told I'm hard to talk to at times because I am an aggressive communicator. Um, Jenny says it should be a given, but I see the manipulative language and poly under duress situations come up a lot on some online poly spaces. For sure. For sure. It should be a given. But like I said, I never even thought about talking about it because I just assumed it was a given for everyone. But you're right. Um, Aggressive communication. That's I prefer to kind of group manipulative language and loaded discussion with aggressive communication because it's um you're being an aggressor. You're I don't want to say you're I mean, but you're trying to start a fight. You someone who repeats your words back to you maybe in different ways. They want to paraphrase and twist your words. That's aggressive communication. That's manipulative language. Um don't call names when communicating. That's another aggressive communication tactic. Don't call each other names. There's no reason for name calling. You're when you go something that I've learned from Michael, and this is one of those things, Jenny, that you think should be a given, right? But it wasn't in my communication skills for many years. Uh Go and always think of this. If you go into a conversation with sides in your head, I'm right, you're wrong, I'm wrong. We're it's who's right, who's wrong, and it's you're going against each other, you're not going to make any headway. You're not going to make any kind of progress. It's not going to be productive at all until you acknowledge that you're on the same team and you're both arguing for your relationship. Um Somebody said use statements. Why would you do XYZ? Implying or assuming feelings or intent of others. You hate me because, or absolutes like you always and I never. Um, yes, those are great. Those are great examples of manipulative, aggressive communication tactics. Um, don't ever tell me how I feel. Don't ever tell me how I feel. That's such a big trigger for me. Um, yeah, like that aggravates the piss out of me. Don't tell me how I feel. These are all really, really, really important things to look for when communicating. Um, Jenny says, yes, I language is much better for communicating. It's my go to for good communication. Have you heard about nonviolent communicating? I've heard it mentioned, but I know nothing about it. I'm with you, Jenny. I know of it. I know there's a really good book about it, and I don't know what the book is offhand. I don't even know who wrote it offhand, to be completely honest. But I have heard about it, and I don't know a lot about it, to be completely honest. It is, from what I understand, something that we should all look into, though. Let's see. I missed a comment here. You're not wrong at all. I was clapping. Sometimes discussions need breaks. People need breaks to process, rest, and take care of themselves. I don't know who said that. Thank you, though. Um, Somebody said they're getting the book. Um, yeah, don't. If you take anything away from today, go to bed angry. Go to bed angry. Allow time for things to process. Jenny says it might make for a good episode after some research. I 100% agree. I do want to talk about it. We've talked a little bit about it on the podcast. And Michael knows a lot about it, and Sarah knows a lot about it, but I don't know much about it. I mean, that's just, it's me. It's Mandee. But yeah, it's from what I understand, it's incredible. Again, it is called, where did it go? Nonviolent communicating. I know for me, things that I do in conversation that I have learned when communicating something is to use, oh, Robin grabbed it for me. It is called nonviolent communication, a language of life. Words and the way we think matter. Find common ground with anyone, anywhere, at any time, both personally and professionally. And it is by Marshall B. Rosenberg, who has PhD behind their name. So none of the names that it's like endorsed by ring a bell to me. But I've heard really, really good things about this book. But some of the things that I've learned about when communicating, and I am by no means saying that I'm like the master communicator. I still have I have a lot of trouble communicating. It's don't call names. Go to sleep on it. Wait, Robin, have you read the book? Robin says they highly recommend this book for literally everyone. Which probably means that she's read the book. Go to sleep angry. Take time to marinate on your thoughts. But when you're doing that, don't downplay how you feel. Don't think about it and go, oh, that really doesn't matter. I shouldn't, don't worry. I won't worry about talking about that, because it does matter. If you had to take time to think about it, if you had to take time to decide whether you're going to discuss it or not, it matters. You probably need to discuss it. It's one of those things that are not being discussed. And that's a communication problem, right? Don't call names. Allow time for marinating. Go to sleep angry. Don't talk about shit when you're tired or you're hungry. I can't talk about shit when I'm hungry either. Also, I've heard people suggest talk about things in public, like at a restaurant. No. That is a red flag. If you feel like you can't have a private conversation with somebody in private and not in public, that is a huge red flag. If you can't trust a conversation to go well in private, that is a big red flag. I mean, unless you're breaking up with someone and you're not going to have, any more communication with them. But yeah, that's always kind of squeed me out when people are like, I don't know that if I feel comfortable having this conversation. I know that if I have this conversation in a restaurant, then my partner's not going to yell, or that they're going to be more put together. Or no, that is such a red flag to me. You have got to be able to have a conversation privately, and trust that, it's not going to become abusive or aggressive. Let's see. We got about 5 minutes left. Can anybody think of any other things that are like bad, that are like communication problems? Oh, passive aggressive communication. Ugh. Come the fuck on. Don't be passive aggressive, people. It just makes shit worse. Talk about it. Talk about it. Don't vague post on Facebook about things. Like, don't do that. Don't be passive aggressive about shit. Just talk about it. I really think that the passive aggressiveness just adds to the problem. I have an ex that was super passive. Well, I have multiple exes that were super passive aggressive about things. And it just fucking added to the problem. Like, talk to me. Don't. Ugh. Robin says, I want to talk about this for hours, but I got to go get ready. Yes, Robin is in the next hour. And I don't remember what Robin's show is about, but I remember that it's awesome. It is like, why can't I get to it? Robin is talking about acts of service today in love languages and BDSM. That's in the next hour in 2 minutes. So I highly encourage you all to stick around, because I love Robin's talks about acts of service. They have some really great insight on this. Robin always has great insight on everything that she's talking about. I just wing it, y'all. Oh, Jenny says that they're so excited about Robin's show today. Me too, Jenny. I'm going to be listening. I don't have a meeting till 2. So, I'm going to be listening and prepping for my meeting at work. Because as I've told you all, this is my lunch hour. I spend my lunch hour with you all on Mondays. So after this is over, I have to go back to work. I get to hang out with y'all for an hour, and then I have to go back to work. So, anyway, be kind to each other. Next week, we're going to talk about metamor communication and message passing, to add on to what we talked about today. So if you have any further questions, comments, or concerns, or critiques, please feel free to leave them in the comments. I love you all. Until next week. And remember, Professor Sex, in your day-to-day, they are in a bad way, and we care about them. So, all right. I love you all. Till next week. Bye-bye.